Thank you, Senator Felag. At this point in time, I call upon Senator Seveny. Do you have a motion?
I move that call or Caucus be ratified.
Senator Casada.
Second.
Senator Casada seconds the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Before we proceed any further, if anyone's going to speak during the caucus here, we have an individual who's going to be passing a microphone around. After the person speaks with that microphone will be cleaned. At this point in time, we're going to move to the adoption of the rules for the caucus, and I call upon Senator Palmer. Senator Palmer.
I'll do it without the microphone now. At this point, I move the rules of defense for the Democratic Caucus for the years 2021, 2022 be adopted as circulated, and at the appropriate time, I have amendments which will be circulated shortly.
That's moved by Senator Palmer. Senator Lombardo. Senator Lombardo seconds the motion. The rules have been made and seconded and properly before the body this evening. Senator Palmer, you do have an amendment. I'm going to ask that the amendment be circulated as Senator Palmer is moving the amendment. Proceed, Senator.
Thank you. We have three amendments, and I'll try and go through this slow. On page 2, and these amendments came, we discussed with the membership in recent days, and I'll try and summarize them as succinctly as possible. There are three. The first one is on page 2, paragraph 13. This section deals with the rules of this, really belongs in the rules of the Senate, since it talks about the rules of the Rules Committee. So this is recommended that be stricken from the rules of the caucus since it's not associated with the rules of the committee. That's the first one. The second one is on paragraph 15, which will become paragraph 14 in your red lines that you have. There are two changes here. The first change here requests that the caucus meet on a quarterly basis throughout the year. We have those who have been senators for a few years or many years know that we meet on a very infrequent basis, at times on a moment's basis. One particular one that we met, some of those who have been here that can come to mind, is on a budget or a budget amendment that's come about very quickly. One of the ones that came about that was very late at night had to do with the Pawsox. We met in caucus on that, and that was called in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. So we will meet in caucus throughout the year on a quarterly basis. We are a part-time legislature, so quarterly will allow us to meet at that time. The second part is there's a sentence added to the last end of that paragraph.
I may not have copies.
And it talks about, as the majority leader indicated, the ability to meet virtually or in person. So the sentence you'll see there says meetings shall be held in person or video conference in a format and form established by the chair. Given that we're going to be in this pandemic for whatever you believe, months, a year, whatever the case may be, it may require us to meet on a moment's notice, but due notice to be able to meet virtually as well as meet in person, so it can be either or to allow all of us to be and meet should we need to meet, as well as during the off session. After it seems like we never have an off session these years, but to meet during an off session on a virtual basis. So, Mr. Caucus Leader, I move that amendment.
Senator Palmer moves the amendment. Senator Lombardo? Right. Senator Lombardo seconds the amendment. Is there any discussion on this amendment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. No, opposed? The ayes have it. Now we're going to move on to the nomination of the majority leader. Senator Murray?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the floor be open to nominations for the
Oh,
office We haven't approved the rules yet. Aren't we supposed to approve the rules?
We did vote on them, Senator Bell.
No, we voted on the amendment, we didn't vote on the rules.
Senator DePalma, you have a motion on the rules?
Yes.
Move passage of the rules as amended.
I'd like to make a motion.
Second by Senator Lombardo.
Motion on the floor.
Senator, there's a motion.
Motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
There is a motion on the floor to move the amendment.
Amended rules.
Amendment as amended.
There's another motion to make another amendment.
Yes, I'd like to motion to amend number 11, rule 11.
There's a motion before us on the floor. I think we have to act on the motion to get the amended rules properly before us, and then you can make any motions that you want. All those in favor of the amended rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have two opposed? Or is everyone in favor?
Well, we should just go back to the appropriate process here.
I believe, Senator Bell, I believe this is the appropriate process. If any members have any further discussion on the rules, Senator Acosta.
Yes. We can stand? Okay.
We're going to bring a microphone over. If you wish to stand, you can stand.
So the rules as amended, better than the first one. I do have a question about paragraph 11. It is implied that anybody nominated accepts the nomination. So just clarification to the body, if we were to nominate anyone, even without them accepting the nomination, we would be able to vote on them or not. And so I think there needs to be clarification in paragraph 11 that anybody nominated would need to either accept or decline the nomination before moving to a vote of the body.
Senator DePalma?
I think with regards to,
Well, just hold on so we can get you the mic, Senator.
If I believe what I understand what Senator-elect Acosta calls out with regards to an individual being nominated and accepting the nomination, I think that would happen during if the person's being put forward, that person would stand up and say they either accept or don't accept the nomination. That would be part of that process.
Are there any other questions or comments relative to the amended rules that are before us? Hearing none, Senator DePalma moves to adopt. Senator Mack, Senator-elect Mack, excuse me.
An additional comment for Rule 11 is there is currently no time allowed for those who are nominated to speak on their platform. I would like to also add an additional place for each person who is nominated to have a 3-minute allotment of time to speak on their platform for whatever position they are nominated for.
Did you have a written amendment to that effect? that you
Yes,
present to
I
us?
do. An amendment to Rule 11 reads as nominees shall have the opportunity to acknowledge, accept, or to decline their nomination
Can you-
with a 3-minute time limit.
Do you have a copy to pass around to the members?
I do not, but I did email it to everyone beforehand.
If we could just have a minute so maybe the members can think about that. Senator Mack has a motion. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Senator-elect Caucus seconds the motion. Senator DePalma, do you have any discussion on the motion?
If I could just have Senator, I apologize, Senator, if you could just repeat the motion so we're all on the same page with regards to what that is. If I could.
Yes.
I apologize.
So I move to amend Rule 11 to read as follows. Each candidate nominated for Majority Leader and each candidate nominated for Caucus nominee for the office of President of the Senate, 1 nominating speech and 1 seconding speech shall be permitted with a 3-minute time limit each. Nominees shall have the opportunity to acknowledge, accept, and/or decline their nomination with a 3-minute time limit.
Thank you for that. Informing that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment is so adopted. Are there any further discussion on the rules? Senator Acosta, elect again.
follow-up clarification for paragraph 12. So we do have a governing majority as a Democratic Party, but paragraph 12 does speak to the powers of the president in making appointments in session, in the chamber. So just like 13 seemed to be out of our purview, can we get an opinion about whether or not we have the power to authorize paragraph 12, or if this is something that is decided on the floor? Thank you.
Senator DePalma.
Thank you, Senator.
You're specifically talking to paragraph 12, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Understand and appreciate what you're putting forward with regards to the rules of the caucus. This is the caucus. Putting this in the rules of the Senate would be inappropriate because it talks about the Democratic caucus. So the appropriate place for this section is in fact in the caucus rules and not the Senate rules, since they refer to the Democratic majority, etc.
Right, so just quick, so if you didn't have a majority, you would not be able to vote on it. You can only vote on it because we have a majority.
These are the rules of the Democratic caucus, and with the majority. If we're moving forward, we do have this. 2 years from now, whoever's sitting in this room or sitting somewhere, 2 years from now for the next session, beginning in 2022, 23, rather. We've been meeting in 22, whoever it is. That would be a different piece at that point.
Well, I just mean like the Republicans can't have this in their caucus rules because they don't.
They're not the majority.
Right, okay.
I got it. Thank you.
Are there any further discussion on the rules? Senator Bell.
I think our new colleague from Central Falls makes a very important point here because, in fact, if you read the way Rule 12 is written, it says, "The President of the Senate shall have full authority regarding all matters pertaining to the management and operation of the Senate, and shall appoint all employees, members, and officers of all Senate standing committees, joint committees, members of all commissions, and other public bodies to which the President assigns by law," etc. Which isn't even how our actual rules work, and in general, I think the practice has always been that committee chairs are often allowed to appoint their own clerks and employees. I think as a practical matter, we all understand the Senate rules supersede these caucus rules, but I do think it's kind of sloppy language that we're having stuff that conflicts with the Senate rules. But where I actually have a concern here on a practical matter is in the possibility where you could have a Senate president elected by a coalition between a minority of the Democratic caucus here and the Republicans. And the way this is written, actually the Senate whip gets appointed by the president. So if we were in a situation where, hypothetically, there were a coalition with Republicans, the majority of the caucus would not actually, under these caucus rules, get to appoint our own whip, which is an important caucus position. So I think that is also a sloppy way this is written. I don't have any official amendments on this, but I do hope that going forwards, we work on trying to clean up some of this sloppy language, and I certainly hope that in the event that, I hope that we don't see a situation where people band together with the Republicans, as certainly happened in this chamber in the 80s and caused a lot of damage to the collegiality and the culture of this chamber, and I really hope we don't see a return to that. But in general, I'm hoping going forwards we can have a good faith effort to clean up some of this language, which I think would improve our processes going forwards, especially as we plan to make the caucus an institution with a bigger role in this chamber, which I think is a really good idea.
Senator DePalma.
Senator Bell, good suggestion. As you indicated, we'll be meeting quarterly from a caucus perspective, so we should figure out and bring it up there at that point in time. With regards to the rules, we'll evaluate and see what goes into the rules as we move forward as the Senate. But as this indicates, it's the Democratic caucus. Setting aside how elections are made for other things. It's associated with the Democratic caucus, but take it under advisement with regards to the caucuses that we have moving forward, as well as the Rules Committee, and whoever's going to be on rules will look at that in the future. Good suggestion.
Are there any further discussion on these rules? Senator Mack, Senator-elect Mack.
Sorry, looking again at paragraph 14, meeting quarterly, because we are in a global pandemic and likely we will have a lot of different needs arise more frequently. I would like to amend it to meeting monthly.
Senator DePalma? That's it. Senator Mack moves an amendment to meet monthly, seconded by Senator Bell. The motion is, the amendment is properly before us. Senator DePalma?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Senator-elect. I appreciate the amendment with regards to being able to meet monthly. We are a part-time legislature. So the January to June time, will we meet more than monthly? If you count number of times we're going to meet more than 6, we probably will. And anyone here from a budget perspective will know that we may meet one day after the next and twice on the same day. As Senator Pearson's nodding his head, I think we've done that a few times. No more 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when we did one of those many years ago. With regards to the July through December timeframe, we are a part-time legislature. So I think the quarterly will do that. I'd ask for your consideration with regards to, as we move forward, that let's see where we are with regards to the quarterly for this coming year. And then, should it need to be changed, we changed it, but we are a part-time legislature. We are January to June. Do we do things July to December? We do. That's why I would encourage the members to stick with the quarterly. Thank you.
Senator-elect Mack, do you have your hand up?
Yes,
I would like to, again, state why monthly is important, especially because this body did not meet during the large amount of time between the beginning of this pandemic and now. We will likely see this pandemic last throughout the rest of 2021 as well. And I think it'll be important for this body to meet and make important decisions on a more frequent basis than quarterly, which is why I'm advocating for a monthly caucus meeting.
Is there any other discussion? I saw Senator Bell's hand up.
So I think that Senator DePalma makes a somewhat valid point. You know, it is true that we are a part-time legislature, and in general, we are only in session until June, but as we all know, that isn't always the case. But one of the things I've learned since getting elected to this body is the amount of work and important decision-making that takes place outside of when we're in session. There's a lot of planning work that goes into how the session is going to run. I know that the leadership spends an awful lot of time planning what's going to happen in the session during the off years. And in fact, those are the times in which a lot of the most important decisions are being made. And in general, the leadership of the Senate doesn't just sort of go on vacation when the Senate isn't in session. They work hard to try and plan and structure for our session. And that's the time when it's most important often to have conversations about the direction we're going to take. Now, I find it's often much harder to change a decision once it's already made. It is harder to change a bill when you read it the night before and find a problem with it and, talk to the sponsor 30 minutes before the floor vote, as I'm sure Senator DePalma will remember I have done on certain occasions. But it's always better to have those conversations earlier. And so I think it would actually be wonderful if we were to meet during the off session so that we could reach more of a consensus rather than having these conversations later on when they'll get more confrontational and a lot of the decisions have already been made. So I actually think meeting during the off session would be excellent. The final reason for that is, of course, so much of what happens has to do with the dance that we play with the administration. That budget process always starts basically by the time our budget is done, the next budget process is beginning. And when you want to have a collaborative discussion and work together with various agencies and try and shape that process, That whole conversation all happens during the off years, and it's one of the most important things we wind up doing. So I actually think it would be wonderful if we met on a monthly basis during the off years. In fact, those are some of the most important times for us to have communication.
Is there any further discussion? Senator-elect Coleman.
Thank you. I wonder if I could propose a compromise. During January through June, we meet on a monthly basis, and during June through December, we meet on a quarterly basis, which I would submit for consideration as addressing potentially both of these needs. It takes some of the urgency off the session, and then it takes some of the time commitments off of the off-season.
Senator De Palma.
Thank you, Leader. But all three senators, great comments. What the language says specifically, so as an engineer, I'm not a lawyer, many of you are lawyers, so I appreciate that. Sometimes, or most of the time I do appreciate it. But it says meet at least quarterly. Doesn't mean we can't meet monthly. We can meet whenever. And also, by the way, with regards to doing the work of the Senate, this really isn't doing the work of the Senate, because it's the Democratic Caucus. We will not do the work of the Senate. Can we talk about issues and topics and legislative priorities? Absolutely. Can we talk about things that the administration is doing or not doing, doing well or not doing well? We can, but we're not going to be doing the business of the Senate. That'd be inappropriate. The appropriate business of the Senate happens when the full Senate meets. So this is the caucus. I just want to make sure that I think we all know that, but sometimes it's, oh, I thought we're talking about the entire Senate here. We're talking about the meeting of the caucus. It's meeting at least quarterly. So Representative-elect Mack, as you indicated, or Senator Bell says, you know what, things come up, we should be meeting more. We can certainly do that. We may want to meet more than once per month. Well, quarterly allows us to at least provide that continued dialogue and touch point on a quarterly basis. But we could meet monthly should the measure arise. I encourage you to stick with quarterly. I know all of us work full-time. Maybe some of us don't. Retired, not Jim, no, just kidding. But we can still do that.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Oya.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the dialogue on the rules. I always think it's a good opportunity to take a deeper dive into stuff that a lot of times people don't pay a lot of attention to. In addition to the issue that Lou just raised about this being a minimum of quarterly meetings, the other aspect is that as you said, there's nothing that bars us from meeting further, holding additional meetings, and the language, there's also language that I think is really important in what will become paragraph 14 that allows the majority of the members of the caucus to call a caucus. So if there's people are dissatisfied and want to call a caucus, the majority of the members of the caucus can call a caucus. We can call a caucus more frequently if that need is not being met. And so I think that having served here for 3 years, I can attest to the fact that I've worked year-round every year that I have been in the Senate. There's been no shortage of meetings and conversations, and I think reaching out to colleagues is not limited to the time in the caucus. And I would also say that the amount of time that we're caucusing takes away from time that we could be doing committee work, taking public testimony, and things like that. So I do appreciate the comments and the dialogue, though. I think it's important.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment to the Senator Bell?
Would Senator-elect Mack yield to a question?
Yes.
Senator Bell, I ask that you go through the chair, please.
Absolutely. To the chair.
Senator-elect, will you yield to a question from Senator Bell?
Yes.
So my question is this. Are you fine with Senator-elect Coleman's compromise?
Yes, I did not realize the nuance of at least monthly, and I think that will allow us to have more flexibility throughout the year. So thank you, Senator-elect Coleman, for noticing that, and for Senator De Palma for also noting that flexibility that's there.
Senator Bell, are you withdrawing your second on the amendment? And Senator-elect Mack, are you withdrawing your amendment to the rules at this point in time?
Support.
Senator-elect Mack?
Yep, support paragraph 14 as is.
Senator Bell, you withdraw your second on that?
Sure.
The rules as amended are properly before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the rules as amended are properly before us.